Hi there, my name's Jack and I'm the founder of Azide Performance. And in this video, what I want to do is basically take you through a sample of what a report looks like and what type of data and metrics are included in the SprintVision sprint reports that are provided by the technology. So this is basically what we have on screen right now is basically the dashboard that you'll be able to access once you log in and create your account. And as you can see, there's a lot of different tabs and buttons we can click on, but the point of this video is to go in depth on what's actually provided in the reports. So if you don't know, SprintVision is basically a tool that allows athletes and coaches to take sprint footage, upload it, and from that sprint footage be able to extract many metrics and data about that sprint performance, such as ground contact times, body angles, so on and so forth, to be able to analyze that data to improve the athlete's performance. So let's click here, which is basically the report tab, and we'll jump into the reports. So when you click this pop-up will appear, and this is where all the reports are. So you can see I've got quite a lot of reports, and there are two different types of reports. We have full reports and light reports. Now, the main difference, roughly speaking, between them is that the full reports contain more information, more data. However, they take longer to set up and they require credits, and you only get a certain number of credits per month. Whereas the light reports, they're processed faster, they require less setup, and you can have an unlimited number of them a month. However, they have less data. So we're just going to go through a light report first. You can see you can kind of filter the reports by day, by athlete. So I've only got 2 athletes here. This is a test. So me, I'm going to pick light report, and you can also see there's 2 different types of reports in the sense of either a top speed report or an acceleration report. So we'll just pick my most recent acceleration report. And so when you select a report, this kind of panel is going to pop up, which contains all of the data for this report. So immediately you can see this overall score here in the top left, the athlete, what type of report, so acceleration, the date, and some scores here, elasticity score, technique score. You can learn about these by clicking on here, for example. There's some buttons down here we'll talk about at the end. And then over here to the right, we have this panel where we're able to basically see the data. So this tab here, the video analysis tab, it's basically just the video footage that you have uploaded. And the only difference is that the landmarks, as they're called, are overlaid on top of the athlete. So basically how the technology works is it looks at each frame of the video and it can identify where each position of the athlete's landmarks are located. So you can see the knees, the feet, the arm, the hips, and so on and so forth. And so as the video plays, as the athlete moves, their landmarks are tracked. You can download this video if you like, but most of the data is available in the other tabs. So let's move to the analytics tab. Now the analytics tab is basically where we can find the raw data for each of the metrics calculated. So we've got, for example, ground contact times, we've got stride frequency, step velocity, trunk angle at touchdown and takeoff, knee distance, distance to center of mass at touchdown. So for example, ground contact initiation shin angles. So we've got a graph like this. At step 1, it's 40 degrees. Step 2, it's 52 degrees roughly. And you can scroll through this and see the corresponding image of that step. So here's the athlete upon ground contact initiation at step 2. You can see that the shin angle is 52 degrees, which corresponds to this leg here, and so on and so forth. Additionally, on these graphs, sometimes these icons will be shown, and that can indicate kind of positive performance indicators or sometimes warnings. So here, I think I've gotten this award, so to speak, because if we click on it, the athlete's shin angles values consistently increased over the first 4 steps. So it's good that we've seen a consistent kind of increase, and we haven't seen an increase followed by a decrease in ground contact shin angles, which is usually indicative of good acceleration mechanics. If you see an increase and then a decrease, a warning will be shown because that can be indicative of, for example, overstriding. But I won't go too much into the analysis here. I'm going to create another video kind of giving my own interpretation on the results of a report and trying to do my own analysis on that to identify what kind of the key areas of improvement are. In this video, I'm just going to show you the raw kind of data that's given to you. So yeah, we can see these images. If we click like a termination metric, for example, it will give us the termination image. So here we've got the termination image for step 3, just as the athlete is about to terminate ground contact here. And what is this? This is a knee angle. So we've got 156 degrees, which is this angle here. You can also see the athletes' metrics in relation to those of elite athletes. So, if, for example, if we want to see like trunk angle at touchdown, so basically how far forward the athlete's leaning, this is the data of the average elite athlete. You can see individual athletes like Coleman, he's got a very forward lean during his acceleration, and there's my angle, so much higher as you would expect compared to elite athletes. And so this is just a tab that allows you to see how the athlete compares to the elite athletes. Now let's go down to the technique analysis. Now the technique analysis tab is basically a tab that looks at 3 key areas of sprint technique. And this is going to vary depending on whether we're looking at an acceleration or a top speed report. But for acceleration, we have foot strike, posture, and knee distance. So without going into too much of all the details here, it basically synthesizes several metrics from that we saw during the analytics. So foot strike, we're going to be looking at things like shin angle, knee angle, the distance between the knees. Potentially, we're going to be looking at the strike point relative to the center of mass point, which, as you can see, is actually annotated on these here. And we're going to basically synthesize all of these metrics together to have a kind of holistic view of how well the athlete is striking the ground here when it comes to foot strike pattern. And then a kind of brief report is generated here with some recommendations on what the athlete should focus on. So as you can see, for example, on step 3, we're striking far out in front of the center of mass. And so we're probably going to expect to see that there's some sort of recommendation here to be made to avoid overstriding, particularly on step 3. We've also got similar thing for posture, how the trunk angle changes, and also knee distance, which, as the name suggests, is basically just the distance between the knees at foot strike or ground contact initiation, which can be indicative of things like good recovery, overstriding, things like that. So this is basically what the technique analysis tab shows us. Now, if we move down to the data overview, basically the data overview is just that. It's just an overview of all the different metrics, their average values, and importantly, you can click this here to download all of the data in CSV format in case you want to do your own analysis, create your own graphs and so on and so forth. You're able to download that here. And the last tab we have for analysis reports, analysis light reports, that is the kilogram analysis. So basically, this is just kind of snapshots of the athlete as they progress through their acceleration phase. In this case, acceleration. For top speed, it would be different. And we've got 2 different representations of the athlete. One is this kind of skeletal landmark representation. And here is just the corresponding image. And so you've got this kind of progression through the sprint cycle for each step. And you can scroll down to see all of the steps of the acceleration phase. Of course, you can download this image if you want. And so that's basically what the kilogram analysis shows us. For top speed, it doesn't show every single step because at top speed, we expect the steps to be kind of more homogeneous in the sense that every step should have kind of a similar kind of pattern. But for acceleration, since each of the initial steps are distinct biomechanically speaking, we're able to view kind of the kilogram for each step during the acceleration. So that's basically all of the tabs here. As I said, I'll make a follow-up video kind of analyzing a sample report, showing the insights that we could draw from them. But this is the raw data that's kind of provided here. So coming back to the start page here, I said I'll talk about these buttons. So just to finish off, these buttons basically just allow you to select a new report so you can easily view another one. And you can also share a report. So this is important, for example, for coaches who want to share the reports with their athletes to have them view the data as well. You can click here and just get a share link. And so with this special link, anyone's able to access the report without needing an account or anything like that. So say that you're a coach and you just want to give this to your athlete, you just copy this link and you give it to them. And I've got like a guest tab here. This isn't logged in or anything like that. You basically just paste the link in, and anyone's able to come and review the link and or review the report rather, and see all of the analytics here. So that's very useful for anyone that wants to share the reports. As I said, coaches with their athletes with their friends, or anyone like that they would like to share the report with. You can also email the report just by clicking here to quickly email the report to someone. And that's another available option for sharing the report. Now, there is another section down here. I'm going to create a separate video on this. The follow-up video basically showing what this means. It's basically a function that allows you to recalculate the report when you find that the results aren't too accurate. So in brief, because the number of videos can be submitted can exhibit a wide variety of footage. For example, the athlete could be closer to the camera, further away. It could be a well-lit environment, not so well-lit. It could be, athlete could be wearing very dark clothes. The athlete could be, I don't know, the background could be different. There's just a huge number of possible videos that could be uploaded. Sometimes during the processing, certain things are calculated incorrectly, specifically the ground contact moments. And so if you notice that the ground contact moments are somewhat inaccurate, you can have the report recalculated using these buttons down here. So I'm going to create a separate video on that. If you'd like to learn about how that is done, then you can go watch that video. But for now, we're just going to look at a full report. So now let's move on to a full report to see what's included there and the differences. So let's go full report. Just as a reminder, full reports generally give more information. However, they take credits and there's longer processing time and the setup's a little bit more extensive. So let's have a look at a full report for a top speed run. So again, we've got the overall score, but here we've also got an additional explosivity score. And the reason that we have this additional score is because this is based off, for example, your top speed, your split times, and so on and so forth, which are now provided in the full reports rather. So you can see the top speed attained during the run. We've also got the 10-meter split time also included here. We've got an additional video other than just the landmarks video. By the way, these red things down here are basically the ground contact moments. We've got an additional video, which is the center of mass velocity video. So basically this is going to show us the center of mass throughout the video. It's also going to show how the athlete's velocity changes over time. And we're also going to see the time here. So when basically this is their 10-meter split time. Okay, so that's what we're able to see here. We can download either video. This velocity graph is now also included in the analytics. Okay, so when we go to the analytics, we're going to have an additional tab here, the velocity tab. We can see how the velocity changes over time. You'll notice here that actually I didn't have enough of a run up. This is supposed to be a max velocity rep, but my velocity was increasing over the course of this 10-meter split, so I clearly did not have enough time to actually reach maximum velocity. That's just one insight we could gain from this graph. And another thing that's included, and this is also included with light reports as well, only with top speed reports. So because we were looking at an acceleration report earlier, wasn't included, but now with top speed reports, this asymmetry analysis option is always going to be available. And what this basically does is it just shows us, like, if we choose a metric, it's going to show us the difference between the left and the right steps with that particular metric. So you can see the left is in blue, right is in red. And we're able to see there's kind of a difference here in the sense that the right side has a higher ground contact time in generally speaking, right? Because we've got 2 up here and only 1 down here. And you can see a summary of all of the asymmetries here, whether the left is higher, the right is higher. And basically what this can tell us is maybe there's some sort of technical issue here, or maybe like a physical issue in the sense of like one side's stronger than the other, one side's weaker than the other during top speed analysis. Because as I said, during acceleration, each step is kind of distinct biomechanically speaking, whereas with top speed, we theoretically expect to see kind of homogeneous steps, so to speak. There shouldn't be too much change in form from one step to the next at top speed. This asymmetry analysis can be quite useful. That being said, in this particular report, it wouldn't be quite valid because we're not actually at top speed. So because we're increasing top speed as we progress through the rep, where some asymmetries are expected. For example, that ground contact one, notice how actually throughout the step, our ground contact times decrease, right? We would expect to see that because we're actually increasing speed throughout the 10-meter split. And so we would expect to actually see a decrease in ground contact time. And so this asymmetry isn't quite valid, if you understand what I mean. But anyway, this is the extra tab that's provided with all top speed reports, not specifically full reports. So if we go to technique analysis, it's more or less the same. Data overview, it's the same, but now we can download our raw and smooth velocity data, also in CSV format. We also get the units such as step velocities, distance of center of mass in actual units. In the light reports, these are calculated, but they're calculated in relative terms, right? So the last step was 20 arbitrary units, and the next step was 40 arbitrary units. And we can use that comparison to still glean insights into the technique used. However, it won't actually be, okay, this was exactly 20 centimeters, this was exactly 30 centimeters, and so on and so forth. With the full reports, you're able to tell the exact measurements. So we get things like center of mass displacement as well in actual measurements. And then we also have the kilogram tab. So that's basically the difference, is that you're able to get the actual split times the actual instantaneous velocity measurements as well, and not just kind of the body angles and relative distances calculated in the light reports. So that's basically an overview of the different types of reports: light reports, full reports, and top speed reports and acceleration reports. So as I said, in subsequent videos, I'm going to look at a specific report and try and analyze the report itself to try and distill kind of recommendations for the athlete, how they can improve. And then in another report, I'm going to be looking at that, adjusting the ground contact times, ranges. So going back to, for example, this report, this thing down here, to talk about how we can have the reports automatically calculated within minutes when we find that there are inaccuracies present. So if you're interested in that, go check out those videos. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, you can always contact me at contact@azideperformance.com with any questions. Thanks for watching.